much violence. Too many killings.
Right now, investigating 2 separate shootings at the same apartment complex.
There have been multiple murders at public housing complexes in the city of Flint in this past year.
Over the last week, Flint has been living up to its moniker as the most violent city in America. NBC.
South Flint, lead water, the little hood homeboy. Grew up selling crackers, poison, army guns, making noises. Young, violent ass nigga made some fucked up choices.
Since I started catching bodies, I heard my first 3 voices.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Midwest Rumors. And today, we taking it to the 7th Ward, to one of the most dangerous apartment complexes in Flint, Michigan, the Evergreen Regency, a place known for its heavy gang presence and a lot of murders, robberies, fights, and of course, gun violence. It was located on the south side of Flint, which, kind of like Beecher and Selby Hood, was a red zone full of Bloods and Vice Lords. You rarely met a GD or a Crip coming from the Regencies or the terrace apartments. It was most definitely a red zone. And back in the day, you were damn near risking your life going out there to any of them complexes on the south side, especially being from the north side of the city. They wasn't allowing no outside faces, especially back in the 90s and early 2000s. You liable to get robbed and popped out there, for real. It was grimy for sure. Probably top 5 most grimy hoods in Flint. One of the most crazy incidents I remember over there happened around January 2007 when Timothy Cook was shot to death while sitting in a parked car in the Howard Estates, aka Murderfield. The shooter was a 14-year-old from the Regency Apartments named Demarie Henry. He had been lurking around the Howard Estates complex looking for somebody to rob when he witnessed Cook sitting in his car and parked, and would run up and shoot him before emptying out his pockets and fleeing the scene. The police would eventually catch the teen, giving him a manslaughter and a robbery charge, sending him to GVRC, which was a boys' home in Flint. But by him being so young, the judge basically took it real light and would give the teen a second chance, believing he would change. And if you've been to that Flint County, bro, you know Judge Fair was giving out gravy sentences back in the day, bro. Letting dudes out on robberies, murders, all type of stuff, you feel me? He knew that a lot of the youth offenders was products of their environment and tried to basically be a little lenient on the sentences, you feel me? Demarie Henry was eventually released, you know what I'm saying? He had went to GVRC, finished the program, did good, you know what I'm saying? And he would actually go on to find a job and finish high school. And in 2013, karma would come knocking when Flint police would respond to a shooting off Limpicott Road between Door Highway and Center Road at the Evergreen Regency Apartments, where 2 people had been fatally shot. According to the affidavit, the shooter told police he came to the Regency to visit some homegirls and a few friends. He stated that while everyone was gathered and laughed and talked outside, a group of unknown men would approach them, staring at them, and would post up close by to where he and his friends were sitting. The accused shooter said that as they laughed and talked, one of the men would glare at them and ask, "What you say?" He said he would respond saying, "I ain't talking to you," and would go on minding his business. Affidavits would state that moments later, the dude would stare at them again and, "Hey, what you say?" And dude would respond, "I said I ain't talking to you, bro." At that moment, the group of men would stand up and one would pull out a black pistol from his waist and started shooting, hitting him in his knee. He would fall to the ground, pulling his own .40 caliber pistol from his pants pocket and return fire, letting off 5 to 6 rounds, hitting Demarie Henry with a gunshot wound to the neck. And another one of the dudes, McClendon, would also be transported to Hurley Hospital with a gunshot wound near his right eye. Both men were left in critical condition, and I think the shooter got off and was never charged. They counted it as self-defense because it was alleged that Demarie Henry and other members of his group pulled weapons and opened fire first, most likely because of hate and niggas being somewhere they had no business. Let's be honest. If you grew up in the hood, you know how dudes get when unfamiliar faces come chilling on the block, bro. You feel me? Especially when there's females around. Dudes get to mugging, looking for a reason to get into it, you know what I'm saying? On some territorial, ego type shit, you feel me? That's why you gotta have discernment, man, and some environmental awareness. especially moving around the streets. You got to know when it's time to get up out of there. Forget being looked at as scared or being prideful, because that can get you put in a dangerous situation, especially when you're chasing around females. But hey, we're going to do more on the Regencies. It's a lot of cases I want to look into that happened out there. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to definitely get into it. Now let's move to this other incident. You feel me? Because another brutal incident took place on October 9th, 2007, when 14-year-old Robert Pearson would be chased and shot down in the Regency apartments. It states that he was gunned down at the corner of South Averill Avenue and Lippercott Boulevard. Police would recover 35 shell casings from the scene surrounding the teen's body. The police would speak to one of Robert's friends who had basically been there during the shooting. He would go on to tell police what took place the night of the shooting. He said that him and his sister met up with Robert in the Regency apartments, and they all decided to walk to the store. On the way, a van would pull up and Robert would retrieve a phone charger and a bike from the back. He said that as they walked, Robert would be approached by two men at around 8 p.m. and one of them would accuse Robert of being a snitch. Before an argument ensued, the men would walk away threatening to come back. You know what I'm saying? Murphy states that the men would return 30 minutes later with two more dudes and they all had guns. He said that he took off running when he seen the guns and instantly started hearing gunshots. Robert would attempt to flee on his bike and would be shot multiple times. Murphy said that one of the men had a goatee, one had braids and a do-rag, the other one had on like some Jordans or something like that. He said that it was dark so he couldn't see all of them, basically couldn't positively identify the dudes, you know what I'm saying? What really set things into motion for police was a shootout that happened by the Speedway at the corner of South Center Road and Court Street, basically a few days later, when a car would pull up on the side of Perry Manuel and Keno Christian's SUV and open fire, riddling the car with bullets before fleeing the scene. Surveillance footage from the gas station would show Christian jumping out of the SUV and hiding a .380 caliber pistol under a dumpster. The police would canvass the area and would eventually find the pistol, and would not only find out that it was one of the same guns used in the murder of Robert Pearson, but it was also registered to a woman. And her name was Yoko Mason Robertson, who was dating a man named William Harris. The prosecution would give him immunity to testify. During his interview, he said he gave the gun to Joshawn Edwards before the murder of Robert Pearson. But by the time trial came, he denied everything, bro. He switched up the whole story on his Lil Woody shit, you feel me? Saying that detectives made him say it. But Christian's ex-girlfriend would testify that she seen Keno Christian and two other men firing their guns that night as she drove down the street. You know what I'm saying? Saquon Hinton's girlfriend would come forward as well and testify that Saquon told her he knew who did it and that it was Keno Christian that did it. After Christian was arrested for the possession of the murder weapon, he would confess the murder to a jailhouse informant, man. You know, they always got to go to jail and run their fucking mouth, right? The dude's name was Robert Moore, who would jump on his case and testify for a time cut and be released. Joshawn even saying that William Harris told him that him, Perry Manuel, and Pooh Bear killed Robert Pearson. Yeah, they was all over the place with this shit, bro. Even all the inconsistent testimony, they was all over the place. Even the eyewitnesses. A bunch of he say, she say shit. Not to mention eyewitness statements, like I said, changing, making them not credible at all, bro. Not credible at all for the prosecution. Due to all the inconsistencies, they damn near wasn't even about to charge these dudes. But they would go on to eventually charge and convict Keno Christian, Joshawn Edwards, and Saquon Harris of first-degree premeditated murder. But like I said, there was a lot of holes in the case, a lot of inconsistent testimony. You know what I'm saying? Murphy wouldn't even be believed after a while. They don't even believe nothing he's saying because Joshawn and Christian them saying that he was a part of a rival gang. And in 2013, they would be exonerated of all charges and released. Perry Manuel would be shot and killed before the trial, so he couldn't be charged. You get what I'm saying? Deshaun Edwards also would be killed after being released, and Saquon Hinton will go on to tell his story in interviews.
So again, a 15-year-old goes to the police station and says that he witnessed this murder. He says that he saw the murder. And of course, this happens in Flint, Michigan, as I said before. And he had like a piece of paper detailing the description of, I guess, the 4 gunmen who committed this murder. He was shown a photographic lineup, and you were in this lineup for a previous case, nothing to do with this, and you are identified as one of the gunmen. So tell me about your arrest and how you find out that you're identified in this lineup.
As I said, I was a kid at Southwestern Academy High School, and the truancy officer came to the lunchroom during lunch hours, and I was in there playing cards with a friend that I knew from high school, and he told me to come here. I knew the truancy officer that worked at the school. He was like a wrestling coach at one point in time, and everybody knew who he was. So when he told me to come here, like take a walk down 22 to the principal office, it was shocking to me. I didn't why would the police come and get me to go to the principal office? I'm not missing days of school like that. So it was a bit shocking. So when I get there, the principal's sitting at her desk, and it's 2 uniformed officers, and then it was an ununiformed detective sitting in there. And when I stepped in the door, he stepped behind me and pushed me by my lower back so I can step all the way in and shut the door. And that's when I heard the detective say, "We got you now." And they take me to the city jail. So after we go to arraignment and I start getting partial of the discovery package is when I find out that this kid, 15-year-old kid, write a description down of 4 individuals that he alleged to see that night. And in there, it was included that he described me as being light brown skin with light brown eyes. And that was shocking to me. Yeah, that was mind-blowing to me. That was mind-blowing. So I'm like, you can clearly see if, this is in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just a case of misidentification. And the prosecutor and the detective, I think they just hung their hat on this kid. I think they just lent this kid all the credence in the world. I think, they were just hell-bent.
Wait a minute, Saquon, I want to make sure I heard you right. This is a first. You were arrested while you were in school?
Oh,
you were literally in school?
Yes.
And these cops came and pull you out of school and say, "We got you," and you are arrested in school. Are you in your senior year?
Yeah.
You're in your senior year.
Yeah.
Wow.
07, 08, I was scheduled to graduate in 2008.
And this is November 10th, 2007, when you are arrested. So they're arresting a minor. How do they notify your family? What is this process like?
And that's the whole thing. They didn't notify nobody. I'm a kid, and for you to pull me out of school, you have to notify my mother or some guardian. But them things didn't take place. That never happened.
You are charged with first-degree murder, assault with intent to commit murder, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, and illegal possession of a firearm. So tell me a little bit of this process as you are finding out these charges against you, how you're going to defend yourself. Obviously, you need a lot of money in this criminal justice system. So tell me a bit about this process.
Well, yeah, I went to court with a court-appointed lawyer. I don't come from a family who had finances that would support a defense attorney of certain caliber. So I had to go to trial with a court-appointed lawyer. But off the bat, I was running down to my attorney I was here at this time, here at this place. You can talk to this individual. I remember what we had watched. I remember who was all there. I remember what I wore. I remember the whole day, because that day changed my whole life, changed the trajectory of my whole life. And the process was horrible. I don't think I had an adequate attorney, or he just did bare minimum work. I had provided him with an alibi witness. He talked to my alibi witness, and she confirmed that I was at her place of residence during said time of the crime, the commission of the crime.